spent 2 weeks with the demos and everything. The president called to action. So he's given so far 2 press statements, and he's gone to an interview.
Okay.
With 3 journalists, Linus Kaikai, Joageo, and the Spice FM guy, forgetting his name. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Itanisumbua
Yeah.
because I can see the name, yeah.
Yeah. I find that interview was really off. The president keeps giving us different versions of himself. So one time he's really angry, another time he's really full of ideas where to take the country.
Okay.
The other time he's finished, like he's
given up.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Like, yeah. This is overwhelming for me.
This is kind of exhausting him, eh?
I know.
Yeah.
He's not even traveling.
Yeah. So on the interview with the journalists, he was evading every single question he was being asked.
Right.
And he was just tackling something different.
But so what's the demand of him now, though? Because he's withdrawn the bill, yeah?
Yes.
So what's the current ask of, like, the protesters?
So for him to resign.
I see.
Yeah.
And because he tried to railroad us like this, and we expect more of it, or what?
Yeah, because he's everything he's doing is underwhelming. Like,
Okay.
whatever he promised during his campaigns, he's 2 years into it, yeah?
Yeah.
Nothing has been done so far. All we see is cabinet secretaries flashing money
Yeah.
in Harambes,
Right.
wearing expensive watches, and not giving a shit about anything, about Kenyans.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the rage Kenyans have.
Did you go to any protests?
No.
Yeah, neither did I.
I didn't.
No, I didn't make it to any of the protests.
You know people who did that, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
We have our little freedom fighter in our house. My
Yes.
brother was there.
Right.
Yeah, so he was there actually on the day on the 25th, the deadly day. And
That was the day that the parliament got...
The 25th.
yeah, the day
I
Parliament got
see,
breached.
got breached, yeah.
Yeah.
And what do you think happened with those cops? Because certainly Ruto didn't want that outcome where, like, protesters got killed, right? Was that just rogue cops?
Why do you think Ruto didn't want that? Why are you giving him the benefit of the doubt? Like he,
Kind of makes him look bad.
but he has looked bad. Like that. That's actually his MO. Like that's how he operates. Why would he?
Oh, okay.
Like I haven't
That's
seen a
that's
change
the
from
only
him.
side everyone knows about.
Yeah,
But-
that's the Ruto we know and recognize.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
there's a twist to this. So yesterday, he gave a press statement at 1:30 p.m. And he had planned for having a meeting with Kenyans on X Space,
Yes.
which was supposed to start at 2 p.m.
Right.
So here is the story. So the 1:30 p.m. press statement, he gave his recommendations, what he thinks, because he had had a cabinet secretary meeting a day before.
What were his recommendations? Now that he's withdrawn the bill, like what's
Yeah.
the recommendation if the ask is for him to resign?
So now he's said he's gonna reduce the budget by 346 billion,
Oh, okay.
and
Gotcha. Okay.
so, and this will come with a lot of sacrifices for the entire country and stuff like that. But his proposal is to reduce it by 177 billion,
Yeah.
so that we borrow the rest
Yeah.
out of the 346 billion.
Right.
So his plan is he did away with the CS positions.
Okay.
He did away with the spouse of the deputy president and the cabinet secretary spouse
I see.
office.
Yeah.
Renovations of the state and public offices were done away with.
Yeah.
So his plan is to sugarcane, fertilizer, roads, like those were his top priorities.
Okay.
Things he wants to start off with, jobs for the youth.
Right.
And I'm telling you for a fact, I joined that space. It was attended by 10 million.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
10 million.
It was a huge,
My gosh.
huge. Has any president had any such digital conversation with their
I'm sure
people?
somebody has, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sure
yeah,
somebody
yeah.
has. I would know.
It was so hard, like internet kept dropping and stuff like that.
Was he
but
answering questions from people?
He was.
Yeah?
You're given a
Anonymous
speaker
questions.
and you could ask questions and he could answer. Like normal mwananchi, like people I know literally no. We're asking questions.
No.
And elected government officials are not allowed to ask questions.
I see.
Although they joined.
Now, I sent you that article from The Guardian in the UK saying like the Kenyans are angry at the IMF about this stuff. How much do you think the average Kenyan that's protesting here kind of understands the intersect between the IMF and what's going on? Do you understand it?
Yeah. Not 100%. Like, I don't know everything. Like,
How
I
do you
don't know all
understand
the
it?
shady, or
No,
like
I don't
all
know.
the.
I don't know much about it either, I'd say.
You don't know much
This is
about
how I
it?
understand it.
Tell me how you understand it.
IMF funds Kenya.
Has loaned Kenya money, yeah?
Yes. And they expect Kenya to generate revenue in a certain manner.
Right.
Feels like they're controlling.
Yes. Yeah.
How the budget will go and stuff like that.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's much I understand
Yeah,
about
so
it.
it's like decisions that should be left to the people are now being determined by this kind of international organization.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Which doesn't seem to have accountability to the voters. Yeah?
You say you don't understand how the IMF works?
Well, no, I know. It's like they they've got a big loan, and in a loan, the lender will often put in covenants to like protect themselves. Yeah.
Yeah.
So their covenant, I'm guessing, is you got to raise your taxes because right now you're only collecting X out of your GDP as taxes, and that should go up by 5%. And so that was sort of like a covenant on the loan.
Okay, let me ask this question this way. Sure, the common Kenyan mwananchi doesn't understand like the whole deal. I'd say we know maybe a quarter of it. The fact that we have a loan and we have to dig deeper into our pockets to repay the loan, which is basically how loans work.
Yes.
But I think you, as someone who has been funded like in organizations that you run by institutions like the IMF, like I think you would know much more than the Kenyan mwananchi. Maybe you can actually shed some light into how these types of institutions work and where they could be coming from, and like shed more light into. Like, I think you definitely know more than we would know about how such institutions work. We don't even have to talk about the IMF in specific, but their MO is similar to how some of the other funders.
Yeah, so normally in a loan, it's like you sign the contract, and then there might be certain things you have to agree to. We agree we're not going to nationalize any industries or whatever. You know what I mean? Like things that would like reduce the likelihood that Kenya could repay the loan, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the things they must have promised when they signed this loan is they'd raise the tax base. Mm-hmm. But I guess the time to introduce that to the voters in a democracy is before you sign the contract and not like sign it like secretly. Because are these even public documents made public? Right.
No,
so here's the problem.
We don't get the terms of the
loan.
loan.
It's like you sign this thing and you agree to it, and now you have to do it, and now you say to the voters like, hey guys, we unfortunately, like we signed this thing, and like we gotta raise your taxes. Yeah. But I mean, the IMF also will have a bunch of other stuff in there that has nothing to do with the repayment of the loan, and this is where like a bank or a private lender wouldn't do this. Like, let's just say it's a bank or an arm's length lender. They're going to put in protection to repay the loan, but they're not going to put in like other stuff that they think you should be doing, right? Okay. But the IMF will put in other stuff. Like they'll put in stuff around human rights and environmental stuff and unsustainable fishing. Like make sure you don't have any unsustainable fishing in Lake Victoria. Like stuff that doesn't have to do with the repayment of the loan, just stuff that the IMF doesn't like. Mm-hmm. Yeah? Mm-hmm. That's
my question.
So this is where the values of like, so you'll see this in these kind of, these sort of quasi, I think these sort of quasi-government affiliated institutions, right? So some might be like parastatal investment companies of foreign governments, these development finance institutions. The IMF is something different. I think it's affiliated with the World Bank, yeah? Okay. And then that's funded kind of collectively by everybody by some sort of UN dues or something. I don't know how it works. But they definitely put in stuff in there that try to push in the Western values onto especially like commercial values, things around the way like businesses are regulated and things like that.
So the things that you mentioned, like the environmental stuff, the gender equality, I think that's what you're calling the Western values.
I mean, some of these are great values as well.
Yeah, they are great values.
But let's point out that like they're putting this stuff in there. It doesn't have to do with the repayment of the loan. That's all. That's all. It's to push in some different values. Yeah.
So those are not problematic. I think we definitely need to figure out like environmental sustainability, all of these things. But what about the things that actually keep the Western like neocolonialism alive? Those are the issues that we need to. Those are the issues that are affecting and actually bringing all of these problems. This is why the African youth is rising up. Like colonialism is coming back in a different form. Slavery even being so such terms which we aren't even aware of.
Right.
So that's the kind of
is
stuff.
there specifics outside
just
the
took
IMF?
everything out of my...
Yeah, okay.
Tell us
Let me
more.
hear-
Like,
let me hear.
you tell us more
The
because
same thing you're asking, like, it just feels like we're going back to the colonial era.
Because foreigners are putting pressure on the government to do stuff, so the government's like, our hands are tied.
Yes. And the fact that, so currently with the political unrest now, do they have a say? Like, what goes through their mind? Like, you've tried to control...
The IMF, you mean?
Yes.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, technically they have a say, but at the end of the day, the Kenyan people, if they say, F you guys, I know you signed this secret loan with these guys, but we own this country. These guys work for us, the ones who signed the loan. They won't even show it to us. So let's renegotiate the terms because we don't agree, right? Like if the Kenyan population sort of rises up in that way, the IMF doesn't stand a chance. But the IMF doesn't stand a chance, right? So.
But would they at that time, like let's speak about 25th, would they come in and say, drop the budget, like speak to the president directly and tell them, like
you mean while the shit's going down?
Yes.
No. It'd be more like long-term stuff that they've been speaking about for months or years. Yeah.
the joke is that actually the reason why we are seeing Ruto up and down is because at some point when things got really hard, he called the IMF and they found they were mteja. So he was on his own.
Yeah. No, these guys are terrified that this is happening right now at the IMF. Like this, I think these institutions are a lot more fragile than they might look. To like the internet age where anybody can become a journalist. I mean, it was amazing to see we talked about this last podcast, all the citizen journalism, like PowerPoint presentations that really summarize like parts of the act and stuff like that were really interesting, just put together by people who are interested, So. Other than the IMF, though, do you have other examples? Because you're saying this rise up against colonial institutions. What did you mean?
I guess currently what's just before us is IMF.
IMF. That's
it's
the big one.
That's the big
So
one.
would you say that Guardian article is accurate? Like that, the Kenyans kind of are pissed at the IMF.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Kenyans are very pissed.
100%.
At
your
the
government,
IMF, at our governance.
your government signed the contract with them, right?
Yeah,
like
that's right.
There's two sides to the contract.
Yeah.
So
and your government works for you, and the IMF doesn't work for you.
Yeah.
So.
So that's the thing. Like Kenyans are pissed, and that's what I'm saying. We're not. It's true that we are pissed at the IMF, but we're also pissed. Period.
In general.
Yeah.
Right.
So we are pissed at our governance. We are pissed at the philosophy that someone thinks that creating jobs and sending us to a website to find a bunch of domestic work and that's what's available to us. We have studied 4-year degrees, 5-year degrees, and that's all is available for us. And the fact that and we've seen this in Nigeria, like the biggest thing in Nigeria, as soon as you make it in Nigeria, you want to leave the country as fast as possible. Like the goal is to leave Nigeria because it's it's too bad. Like, but no, Kenyans are saying we want to stay here.
Yeah.
We want to stay here. This is our country. We love our country. We want to raise our kids here. We want to build our businesses here.
Right.
That's exactly. So if you don't think you can create a conducive environment for us to live here, then you're not the leadership that we're looking at.
Yeah.
We're looking at, and we need to change that.
And I have my parents, they're old, they're ailing, and you expect me to go work somewhere in another country. Who's going to take care of them?
Right.
Who's going to take care of my kids?
You know how we talked a couple episodes ago about like before the British showed up, whether like this deadbeat dad phenomenon would have existed, and you were kind of saying no, because like the family ties would.
The community.
So, do you think this kind of corruption existed before? Did corruption exist before the Europeans showed up in Kenya? Were like tribal chiefs
Some
like
level,
marking up
I'm
contracts on yams or some shit? Like what were people like doing this, or was this something where like a new system came in and it like Kenyans learned to game it because it wasn't their system? What do you think?
What do you think, Sharon?
I mean,
In like traditional Kenyan society,
I'm
would there
sure
be
it had
corruption?
existed at some level. It's just that the intensity now it's just that now we are aware of it.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then maybe we did not know that whatever this is corruption. But now we are
Right.
woke. We are aware. That
Right.
What is corruption? Like, how do you define corruption?
I think it's like
Manipulating systems for your own gain.
right. Or it's like
Using power to.
I think it's like when you're employed, it's like not doing something that's not in your employer's best interest, but that's in your
Yes,
best interest.
yes.
So
Yeah.
in the case of the government, the ministry of whatever, it's like they're employed by us as the people, and we expect them to provide great roads and whatever, and instead they provide decent roads and then pocket some money. Because through contracts or whatever. I don't know. I have no idea where this happens, but
So, I think this is what I think, and
Tell me.
of course we can definitely look more into this. I think this is a more recent. I think of corruption as a way in which people take shortcuts to gaining wealth, or to gaining an undue advantage, and it's everywhere. Like, think of corruption as me paying this person 6,000 so that I can get my passport faster.
Right.
So I have gained something. That is corruption.
Right.
That is a shortcut. Like, I'm trying to bypass I'm trying to bypass the process through which you gain a passport from take a shortcut. Like, I bypass the queue. Like, there's definitely a lot more people who need passports, but then I'm here and I think my need is urgent, or rather I don't do queues, so I pay. And if I look at it that way, you can definitely think that it existed, but not at the level at which it exists now. People manipulating situations so that they can benefit themselves.
Yeah.
So right now, it's just that the systems that have been put in place, you can think of them as specifically to frustrate the process. Like, why do we have a queue to get passports in the first place?
Right.
So the system has been set up in a way that
Or why
frustrates.
can't I pay traffic fines by M-Pesa, right?
Yeah, why can't I? Why do we have, like, systems are specifically set up, or they frustrate the actual process? So like right now, we used to get IDs for free. You become 18, you go to let's say Huduma Center, apply for your ID, you get your ID, you're done. But now you have to pay 1,000 shillings to get your ID. And
Which expires in 10 years.
Which expires in 10 years. And
That's
even
100 shillings a year.
Yes.
and
The math checks out.
and right now we have a backlog. So what does that mean?
Right.
If you urgently you need an ID to get jobs. So
To even get into a building.
So what do? You bribe someone
Right.
to get. So it's like a system has been set up in such a way where it frustrates the process of actually getting your ID. So this has pervaded all elements of our systems. Like, you can see with someone like
So, just
Hanifa.
let me
finish.
Okay, go ahead.
Someone like Hanifa, who has actually done an amazing job managing the funds that people have contributed for the injured.
For context,
Who is this?
Hanifa is a tweep.
Yeah.
A tweep is...
And what is a tweep? A Twitter person.
Yeah.
And so
and
this is somebody who's collected funds for
Yes.
the
So
injured.
set up,
Yeah.
he's managing the process, following up with hospitals, following up with the families
Right.
of those who have departed. So you can see someone who actually, a teacher and a hospital colluded to say that they have someone who is injured and they need this amount of money to the hospital.
Yeah.
And of course, this is what the money is for. So she sends the money. So this is the mentality of the Kenyan populace.
Right.
So, and it has pervaded every element of our lives. So when you say really our leaders are a reflection of who we are as a people, so that's the thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And to add to what you just said, the fact that corruption really, it fingers the normal mwananchi, like you're not able to access services because someone has done some. Case example, Hanifa, so some money was sent to a fake hospital.
Yeah.
Right.
So someone was not able to get,
Yeah.
because a part of it is slashed to help a fake patient,
Yeah. So I think when you ask whether corruption came with the British, I think it definitely changed. And when I say the British, I mean a colonialist, and you can look at that with all the colonialists in the world.
Right.
When you think about the idea it was oppression by wealth. Colonialism was oppression by wealth. Like these are people who are materially superior to money things. They came in and they wanted...
Or material things like guns and ships and...
Yeah, and power even.
Power, yeah.
Power as well. So this is someone who came and subjugated the people, took over their lands and put them in concentration camps around the country.
Tell me, what are the concentration camps?
We call them reserves in Kenya.
Okay.
Yeah, people in Kenya were put in reserves and concentration camps when the British came. And what that led is it increased economic pressure. People who had their own lands, they were able to live their livelihoods, were suddenly huddled together in a tiny space so that the white man can have people to actually work for them in their farms.
Right.
Yeah, so it was like that was a system that was set up. Yeah. So when you think about the psyche of such a group of people, these are people who now, so this is how power works. Power works with money. So how do I get this money? And right now, people are telling stories about home guards, the people who actually were the security officers for the colonialists, how the kind of lives they lived after. A story is being history is being told about the person who shot Dedan Kimathi and the kind of life he lived after doing that. And this is basically like the blowback from actually aligning yourself with the colonialists. And he was awarded enough money. He was awarded £30 that back then was someone did the equivalent of now adjusted for the exchange rate and inflation. He was able to buy a lorry. He wanted to do transport business, but his lorry literally sat in his compound because nobody wanted to work with him. Yeah, nobody wanted to do business with him.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's when you think about it, why they align themselves with the white man, and you can think of that. It's all that pressure. Like, okay, now I had this land. Like, this is where my family comes from. My family comes from this land. Like, you can tell. The people tell stories about the hills and valleys where their family occupied, and suddenly they were pushed into small spaces. Of course, you want to get back to that. Like, you see the value of the land. Like, the value now has a monetary value.
Right.
The land has a monetary value, and you want to get back to that. So how do you get back to that? So different people will take different paths to this, and I think it's all in the value of a dream. how do we choose, like how do we get there, like do we, and we are seeing it, okay, I'm all over the place right now.
No worries,
but
no worries.
it's just
Tell
strange,
me-
like it's everybody wants to be rich. Like you can tell for a fact someone like Ruto is a man with a big dream.
Sure.
This is a man who came from pretty much nothing, and he was one of the mentees of Moi. That's how he came into the political
I see.
class. And he has grown like from very young, like he knew this is what he wanted. He wanted to become president of this country. And he has fought tooth to nail to do that. But the path that he's taken, can we say that this is a justified path? Like, how is there? Are we saying that the only way to become rich is through the path that he took? Like,
I see.
yeah.
Okay.
I feel like Ruto's intentions were clear from the beginning. Like the way you said, he's come from down up. He wasn't raised in a dynasty family or anything like that.
He's building his own dynasty.
Yeah, but along the way, everything has just gone south. Yeah, like whatever dreams he had for this country, he says it's only been 2 years. So what he mentioned yesterday in the space, we should see whatever is happening now as him taking a CAT. So the final exam is coming.
Oh, CAT. Oh.
Yes.
What's
yes.
it? Sorry, what's the...
Continuous assessment
Continuous
test.
assessment
I see,
test,
I see, I
yes.
see, yeah.
So we should
Yeah.
wait for the final exam and judge him from that. So you can always take several continuous assessment tests, and then, it's I'm telling you for a fact, yesterday's space, I felt for him. I am anti-Ruto, but yesterday I was like, let's give this guy a second chance. Imagine,
nice.
me of all people.
Wow.
I was like, let's give this guy a second chance.
That's exactly why you shouldn't be on that space, my God.
There's this other thing. So when the president planned to have this space meeting, it was planned 4 days ago. So then he sent his personal, what do they call them? Personal assistant? Whatever. Hussein Mohammed. So put up a tweet, we'll be having a next space with the president, and he needs to address issues. So the whole idea was he needs to be invited into the space,
Right.
not him creating a space to invite
Yeah.
Kenyans.
Yeah. Like,
Yes.
okay, here's how I'm going to do it. I'm creating the space. It's like, no, like,
Yes.
I mean...
Yeah, you wait for
It's
us
like a
to be ready. We will
decent
invite
reminder
you.
that
Yeah.
that he works for you guys, right?
And something you said,
He
the
works for
government
you guys.
works for us.
Absolutely.
In Kenya, that's not it. It's the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean,
when,
I always think about like if democracy works really well, it's like a limited company. It's like you
Yeah.
got your shareholders
Yeah.
who can vote and then appoint the board. And
Yeah.
if the CEO is doing a bad job, then
yes.
the board should fire that CEO.
Exactly.
And then if the board's not willing to fire him, the shareholders then do it. But ultimately, it's the owners, right?
Yeah.
And like in a democracy, we just each own one share,
Yeah.
But we're all the owners, right?
Yeah. So when Hussein put up this post, everyone was like, no, we're going to create a parallel post, and we're going to have Kenyans on another post, on another space. So you do your thing as government, us will be on another space. So I don't know, Kenyans are so creative. So whatever poster Hussein created, they pasted the fake thing on it on the president's face.
Oh, yeah?
Nobody's attending that space. So here is the interesting part. So it's 1:30, he gives a press statement. So everyone is boycotting that space, all right? Especially there's a guy called Osama Otero. He was the one who held the first space that had 50,000 Kenyans join before maandamano. So it's leaderless, it's tribeless, it's everything less, but at least there's a voice we follow. So it was this guy, it's called Osama Otero. So he held the first space before Mandamano, and that's where all these ideas of printing posters, t-shirts began. So he also created a poster saying, boycott that space, do not attend that space. I'll create my own space, parallel one, we join. 1:55, Osama Otero creates a space. Guess what? He's the host, and the president is the speaker. Oh my God, Twitter has been buzzing.
Wait, so
the
what?
last
So
24
Ruto
hours.
joined the other guy's space, yeah? Is that what happened?
No,
Yeah.
No,
this
sorry.
guy was a sellout.
Yeah.
Oh, this guy joined. Okay.
He was invited to State House
Okay.
and created a space.
okay.
Someone whose friends were shot dead.
And sorry, who is this?
In front of
my
Parliament.
God.
Yes.
It's all right.
And yesterday, during the space, his friend was being buried.
Yeah. But he was in
Wait,
State
He
House.
was in State House.
Who is this guy?
He's called Osama Otero. You
He's
can
a-
look him up. He's a
he's a-
tweep. He's just
He's
someone with many
his
followers.
ex-name.
I
Yes,
see.
that's his ex-name.
I see. Okay.
So he was in State House. So everyone started doing the investigation. So everyone is mad. The last 24 hours, everyone is mad. So it happens, this guy was paid 2 million bob. Together with his friends. And when you mentioned, and if I give you a look, like, they're all sellouts now. We don't trust any of these guys.
Oh, really?
Like, we took onto the streets for a good cause, and a few money was exchanged.
But do you think they'll be able to buy off the Baada Ya Kazi podcast eventually? We'll be like, you know what? These guys are doing their best after all. Hustler Fund. Kids, join the Hustler Fund. What are some other...
What's our collective views?
Yeah.
I
Should we take 2
don't
million?
think we have the political
Should we take 2
muscle.
What's our red card now?
Yeah, should we take 2 million
I
to
don't
sell
think
out?
we have the political
We got-
muscle.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what's happening currently.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think I would confidently say that people have dropped this officially. Like, we can't have people in the forefront and
I think Sharon, you've got this wrong, and I think you've got this wrong, because, and I think we talked about this when we were talking about the revolution. This is, I think the people that this is eating at is more than the people that it's
one
that have
person
been
dropping
paid
at
off.
a stage is
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
And not everyone is gonna make it to the
Finishes the
finish
race.
line.
Yeah.
Not everyone is gonna
for
make
sure,
it to the
for
finish
sure.
line.
Yeah.
For sure.
Nobody.
Everybody's in a different situation. Right?
Yeah, everyone is in a different situation. If they paid 2 million to MPs to pass the bill, I don't think they paid 2 million to Twitter people.
Well, it's just a figure that's coming up.
Yeah.
Of course.
So now people don't trust each other. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with the revolution. I'm glad that we're calling it that. The fact that it being leaderless it reduces the aspect of these kind of people that can be called and talked to and things change.
Yeah.
You saw people in Kakuzi standing up and actually starting their own protests in their own village, protesting about a bunch of stuff. They're talking about their bad roads, they're talking about their leadership. That's the point of a leadership movement. The fact that there's no timetable, no one is coming up with a timetable. So the anger is there.
Yeah.
The
So what you're
movement
saying,
is
a
out.
revolution cannot be stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when
there's
you,
going
when
to be
you,
infighting though too. That's just a normal. It's
Yeah.
just there's chaos. in every-
Not everyone gets to the finish line.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
Interesting.
But this is
so
This is the kind of talk I needed, you know? I was like,
So when you say you have sympathies for the president right now, like I'm not like you're buying what he's saying, what he's selling. All the things that he said in his 130 address can only be considered as a roadside address. Okay. All the things that he said he's gonna do need to be. Parliament needs to sit and discuss all of these things and actually pass bills, like whatever the process is. And you just don't, as a president, you just don't stand and say. That's not how the constitution works. That's not how governance works anymore. So he's callous, he's manipulative. One of the things is that he's manipulative. He's a liar. I can't.
Are we going to get
trust.
Abducted or anything for this podcast?
Well, you guys are safe.
I was with the finance bill.
I guess you guys are
housing
safe.
levy.
But
I love it.
Toodles.
Yeah.
Again, we don't have. I don't think they're paying that much attention to us, to Baada Ya Kazi podcast. So. But yeah, he will say whatever he thinks is going to get him out of trouble for a particular moment. But you get to see glimpses of him. All has happened is that he's taken time. Did you hear his press statement now? It started with condolences. He's literally listening to what people are saying and actually, this is what they want to hear. Let me tell them that.
Hear me out.
That is the manipulator's playbook.
Hear me out.
I am not buying that.
Hear me out. So what we do is, let's hold him to account.
Yeah, sure.
IBC is supposed to be reconstituted on Tuesday.
Yeah, we want to report
Tuesday is on
MPs.
Tuesday, yes. So if he's given deadlines, if it does not happen, and the good thing he's given, like, he says 10 days, 7 days, and we are counting.
Like one of the promises he said is that he's stopped unnecessary travel for
public service.
He already announced this last year, November. Like, what has changed?
Okay.
What is this roadside pronouncement?
All right, I've jumped back to the other side.
Like, what is it that that he's promising?
Can I point out, like, I mean, there's some things that are kind of right. Like the tax base does have to go up, right?
What, like we're gonna get taxed more?
Not that. Okay, it's not.
You're using big.
Okay,
you're using small,
it's not
big words.
I mean,
What is tax base?
ideally, it's not that you get taxed more. It's that more people are, like, more activity is taxed.
Okay.
So people who right now who are evading tax are taxed. Especially bigger businesses, right?
Okay.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is an economy growing, but like you're going to grow into it. Yeah. Like the economy will sort of grow into it as more businesses become into the formal sector and paying taxes. Like that'll increase it. I mean, it does need to go up. It doesn't. But I think it needs to go up. Like organically. It can't like be shocks like this in the finance bill, which is like why if that's what the IMF wanted and they agreed to, it's like, well, guess what? The people don't agree to that. Yeah. So like, I know you wanted that 5% increase right away, but we are the bosses in this country, the voters, and we say that it's not going to go up that fast. And if you have to renegotiate some of that loan, then tough luck, because these guys didn't show it to us first.
Yeah. I don't think it's
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But over time, you want that tax base to go up and like build more cool stuff. But Kenya's not like in a super bad debt situation anyway. Like people really exaggerate it. It's I mean, it's kind of a bit of debt, but it's like not as bad as like Japan's debt situation, public debt situation. Anyway, so this is not a public debt discussion, but Kenya's not in that bad a shape.
That's the other thing. Why do they need 90 days to do that audit? They should just release whatever information that they have. So the people who manage Japan's debt are completely different individuals from the people who are managing Kenyan debt.
Okay. Tell me more.
So the people managing Kenyan debt's priorities are renovating offices.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
Office of the office of the deputy.
I see where you're going
vice
with this.
president.
I see.
Our priorities are all off.
Yeah.
So you think about like photos are being thrown around, like we completely benchmark with countries like Singapore. Yeah. And when you do a Google search of a Singaporean ICT hub is miles ahead of what we have here, what we are saying. Yeah. And sure, we've got to start somewhere, and we've got to start with what we have. But our priorities are all different. People want to travel. People want to
create departments within ministries just to accommodate celebrities. It's crazy.
Right.
Prioritization is all off.
I see.
Yeah.
Like, and how do we increase our tax base when we are creating an unfavorable environment to do business in Kenya?
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you can't crush the like entrepreneurial activity that's actually working, and like the three of us, we know examples of this, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like a small taxpayer or a non-taxpayer becomes a big taxpayer in like short order. You want more and more of that. Like you don't want to mess with those guys. So and I guess these rules weren't messing with us directly, like companies directly, like entrepreneurial companies, but with their employees, it definitely is, right? And that's like the lifeblood of the company. So.
And I guess are you saying that because you're a good taxpayer, like in your organization you pay taxes religiously because
you get the assumption is if you're complying, like if you're not complying, then it's a different story, right?
Interesting.
I love this conversation.
Speaking of revolution, my country's birthday was 2
Oh
days ago.
yeah, Happy Independence
July 4th.
Day.
Oh yeah,
Because
yeah.
that was when we had the revolution, and we actually kicked the British out. You guys were kind of like, okay, you're out, but you're still on the coin, and like we're still in the Commonwealth.
Tell us more.
Like,
Tell us more about your fight for independence against the.
no, I
And
mean
while
it was
Latif-
like a serious breakaway. Like they were ready to die and fight, and like they fought the war and they won, right? Against the British to get them the F out of the country. So yeah, it was a pretty crazy group.
If you were to inspire us right now, like if you can tell us, like you can read from the history of America and actually, what can you tell us? Like, how should we be thinking about this problem? How do we actually get these people out of our heads?
So, I mean, it seems to me, okay, I know so little about history and colonial history, but it seems to me that, like, you know, the British left here, like, the Kenyans really wanted them out, but the British mostly left because it became sort of unfashionable to, like, have colonies.
Yeah, same as they started slavery and then they left it to the Americans when they ditched them.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah. And so they left, but they, like, you know, they didn't really want to leave, right? Like, they weren't kicked out, like, in full. Like, lots of their organizations and institutions are still really welcome here, right? And you guys still consider yourselves part of the Commonwealth?
Yes,
Well,
we
so
are.
what does that mean? Does that mean they...
I actually don't know what
I
it
don't even
means.
know what that means.
I
The only noticeable thing I think it means is instead of it being called an embassy, it's called a high commission. That's the only noticeable
I
thing.
think it means more to the British people
And
that
to-
us
Yeah.
being a part of our Commonwealth than it means for
Is it-
us.
I think it's them being like, you guys still like us, right? Like, we're still cool, right?
Like it doesn't
'Cause we
mean
left
anything to
peaceably,
me
yeah.
being part of the Commonwealth.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Okay.
this means more in the mind of the king than in
I
my
see.
mind. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a topic.
Something else. Help me understand something. Is Trump running for president
Yeah, yeah.
again?
Badly.
Yes.
Is it? It's okay.
And he's about to win.
Okay.
Oh,
Help me
dear.
understand
Are we
something.
going to talk
That-
about American politics on this show?
No. Okay.
Okay,
Just
a
this
little
one
bit. Just
thing.
give me one question.
Yeah. Just this
Yeah,
one
yeah.
thing.
Wait,
so
why not?
It is in the.
We can.
It is in the American Constitution. You can be ex-president and come and run again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You
Wow.
just can't do more than 2 terms, so he did 1 term.
Or you only did one term.
Yeah, so he can run for
Okay,
another.
that was
Yeah.
the end of my question. That's one bit I could not understand.
Anyway, so the inspiring thing about 4th of July, Independence Day, great, like barbecue, like different sausages, hot dogs, hamburgers, backyard barbecue.
U.S. flag bikinis.
US flag, US flag bikinis, yeah. Fireworks, yeah, parades, local things, you know. So
How did you celebrate it? Do you celebrate it here?
we have done in the past. I think we've even held like the 4th of July party at one point when it fell on a Saturday, but this one passed by without notice.
You've become
Yay,
Kenyanized so much.
America. Yeah.
I want to throw in something there. Would Kenyans ever recycle a president? One term or not?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah, like
Kenyans just have this thing of I can never take back my ex. It's just it. I no.
I don't know.
Well, we
it's
do
hard to
take
say.
them.
The country's too
Ooh.
new, yeah?
So the problem is the thing is that it happens consecutively. Like we recycle them consecutively.
Okay, so okay.
Like we have had
It
bad presidents that we actually went and voted for,
Okay.
despite their badnesses. Like
Okay.
we went to the
Consider the fact that a president's term is 2.
yes.
Yeah, they go. Case example: would we take back Uhuru Kenyatta if the constitution
No.
allowed? That's what I mean.
Interesting question.
You could take back, who did 1 term? Kabaki?
No, Kibaki
No.
did too.
He
None.
did too?
None of our presidents have ever done a one term.
None.
We are trying to get Ruto to do one term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the first
Yeah.
scenario. Yeah. Anyway, so this whole politics thing has really made social media so boring. Nobody's posting on TikTok. My TikTok is so boring.
Right now it's all
Like-
bills.
Yeah.
Tuesdays was just scrapped off like that. I'm sad.
Bring it back.
We need a little
Bring
bit of a
back
break.
Tuesday.
The government offers, are they called bonds or bills? Bonds, right?
Yeah.
where like individual investors can actually put money into the government.
You're lending money to the
Yeah,
government.
you're
is
lending.
what
It's
you're
called a
doing.
bond,
Government
right?
It's called a
bonds,
bond.
yeah.
You're lending money to the government, yeah.
So investors are investing short term, 90 days. Like the 90-day bond was heavily oversubscribed, but the longer term were severely underutilized. So investors they don't have much
Hope.
hope for the country.
That's
Interesting.
The risk has increased. The risk.
Ooh.
So, and that's actually
scary.
What's funny is because like what you described right there is what like a bond trader refers to as the yield curve, and like where it steepens, it's because like investors perceive more risk. Like the longer you go, they perceive it as way more risky. So I guess that's what you're saying. But what's funny about it is like I used to completely know where the yield curve was at any point in time, and now you know more about the yield curve than I do because I didn't know that.
I feel like
you guys said I should have a political opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My basis is an
I
economic
feel like
opinion. So
Rosemary
let's
has done
attack this.
so much research
Yeah, you've
since
done
the
your
last
homework, man.
Yo,
podcast.
guys, 2 podcasts ago, I was like, let's.
Just like a little baby.
You have sparked my attention. Now I'm here, motherfuckers.
Looking at her like,
I'm here, motherfuckers. We
where
are
the
on.
hell?
Yeah, she's here to.
She's even
Like, look at my funny, my
She's got like her
gallery is-
research.
she's even discrediting
Yeah.
my stand. Like,
Yeah.
I am feeling
Yeah, you've done
empathetic.
homework.
No, you shouldn't.
You're making us look bad. All I did was find that one. Did you see that one, like, protester that was, did you watch that one I sent you guys?
Oh, like right this morning?
Yeah.
Oh,
Or-
love her.
Yeah,
Love
great.
her.
And then she
Yes.
went on another podcast. Do you think
Yeah.
she'll come on our podcast?
We can.
Oh, we can.
try.
Of course.
Yeah.
And this is the time
Daisy?
we now need to start getting guests. We are
I think
7
this is a
in,
great
yeah?
time to have
We are
guests,
8 in.
but also on this topic because there's so much material here. Right?
Yes, yes.
And obviously we don't like we can get people on who know a lot more than us.
Yes,
right? On certain
yes,
things.
yes.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
I need to understand this more because
Me
this
too.
is this is how the government should be encouraging us to invest in the government. It's not taxing us more. It's actually, yo guys, we need, and we've seen it. Like we've seen people. We needed money for the injured, 29 million out.
Yeah.
We needed. Our lawyers are out there doing pro bono work. They
Yeah.
want some cash.
Yeah.
Definitely.
How much do you need?
And do you know
If
she
we
was
trusted-
offered a job by the government?
Who?
Faith Odhiambo, the LSK
Oh yeah,
president.
she's part of the proposed. I don't know whether it's
Yeah.
proposed or final. The task force.
she
that is-
declined it.
Oh, she declined it.
Yes.
Oh, yeah?
She's like, you're not buying me with it.
Oh,
Please.
Yeah, I'm not.
They
what
saw
was
she's gonna
Yeah.
be problematic.
Oh, yeah,
I love her so much. She is
what was the
definitely
name of the tweet
problematic.
that got bought out?
Osama Utero.
Yeah, someone. She's like, "What do you think I'm Osama Joe?"
Yeah. And guess what? So guys were just arguing the fact that, do you know there was an LSK president between Harvey and Faith?
There
Are you
was one?
aware?
No. I haven't.
Exactly. Like, yeah.
So yeah,
Why
this
get-
is,
okay.
this is how the government should be encouraging us. Like
Right.
we have money. We have okay. We
We can even
it's
pay
not that
that
we have
debt.
money.
We
It's
can
not that
have
it's
a
not that
pay
we
bill
have
and just
money.
pay off that debt.
But
Yeah,
this
give
is
us
like
the
a
baby. If we trusted our government, like their priorities were right, we would invest in our government.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like 100, like you tell me how much money am I
Yeah.
like, and we have the systems in place. Like we
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
What else did people buy on? MTBA. What was MTBA? Now that's a bill. Okay, now I have. Now
Mchanga.
that's my next assignment. Figure out. Like there was this, the government. I think it's not MTBA. MTBA is health.
MTB is
That's a
Safaricom,
health thing.
yeah.
That's a health thing.
What do you mean? What do you want to say?
So people signed up for this, and you can literally you can invest in the government or loan the government money via an M-Pesa app.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you come in with your small coins and you're 20,000, you put it into the pot, and then
Yeah.
you grow. Like if we trusted our government, that is the
Yes.
approach that they should be taking.
Right.
Like this is what we want to do. Can you lend us some
Yeah.
money? 90 days. This is gonna be your return. This is what they should be marketing, not overtaxing us to the.
Yeah, I mean, this is the weird thing. Just it's like the companies that are listed on the Nairobi Stock Exchange have to make their finances completely public, and they can try to kind of hide stuff in there. But then the management has to face off against all the shareholders in a meeting and ask, and anybody can ask whatever questions. So it's like people can kind of point out and get all that information, right?
Yeah.
And the banks like have to make it public. You go in the lobby of a bank and you'll see their financial statements up on the wall, right? Like, why doesn't
Our government should do that.
like why wouldn't the government be held to the same standard as a listed company? Like why should the government have like worse governance than Safaricom or Equity Bank?
Yeah.
Right?
One thing that pisses me off about these government officials, one is like riding on situations like this. Case example, Nahumicha, the CS for health. After all the people have collected money for the injured and the dead, and then she just wakes up one morning with her hangover, and then she says that the government has paid bills for, like, KNH has waived bills for every patient that was in there after someone collected funds and paid off these bills.
I mean, she can definitely go ahead and say that the government has waived. It's the spirit of how she said it. She said that she's getting rumors that there's someone who is collecting money, and KNH has already. No, she could just have gone ahead and said, okay, yeah, we recognize the situation in which we are in, and the government hospitals are not going to charge.
But she does not have.
It was her tone. What was the problem?
And it's false.
Everything.
Like she doesn't have receipts.
The problem
We have
is
receipts.
people actually had to be moved from government hospitals to private hospitals because they were not getting the
proper
services
help,
that they need.
Right.
Like they were waiting days for surgeries and they were in pain. Yeah.
And I agree with you and you too when you say the anger is still there.
Yeah,
The zeal is still there. And we are having a demo on Monday for doctors.
Right.
And everyone is planning to join in. Anyway, that aside. And governors, like taxpayers' money is used to build like projects like border shades, erect walls and all that. And the whole governor puts their picture on it, like proudly sponsored by.
Yeah.
And that is taxpayers'
we expect
money.
much more from our governance. We expect much more from our governance than a water tank for a car wash. We expect much more. Like that's not where we are as a nation. That's not where we are as a nation.
Right.
Do you remember? Our first podcast, second podcast, you were asking us a question like, and I think I gave an example. You're asking us a question like, do you think the government is working for Kenya?
Yeah.
Like Nairobi, and your examples was, the expressway.
Yeah, no, listen, I got to tell you, like, I still think, like, it's awesome to see so many people politically engaged and smart and understanding what's happening.
Yeah.
And demanding better, because, like, you can always do better. But just sometimes it's useful to, like, step back and be like, we're doing pretty good. Like, Kenya's doing good, yeah? Like, that environment for entrepreneurs I've been talking about has only improved over the last 12 years while I've lived here.
Yeah.
And, like, an example recently is these small claims courts that they've rolled out. They're super efficient and fast.
I agree.
And it's like, you know, nobody was, you know, it's like a government services are monopoly services. So you can't be like, if I don't get good service here, I'll go to the other small claims court. So it's like the government doesn't need to operate that efficiently, but for some reason they do. So like, let's recognize some really well-run parts.
Yeah.
Like there's some parts of the government that are actually working really well. The other thing I think I mentioned is like the pedestrian infrastructure. Like most roads, when I moved here, there was never sidewalks along the road. So when it rained, people would walk up on the road or walk in the mud, right? Now it's like there's paved sidewalks everywhere. Like for the
No, Chad. Paved sidewalks are in your neighborhood.
In the rich parts of town.
Paved sidewalks are in Kilelesha.
No, but the CBD
paved
is
sidewalks
now.
are in Lavington. You come live with us in Syokimau and look for a pavement. We don't even have drainage.
Yeah, but because it's where you are is lower density. Like you wouldn't normally have a. It is.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Go
you
look around.
You want to tell me more people live in Kilelesha and Lavington than they live in Pipeline? They live in Syokimau. They live in Rongai. What the fuck are you talking about?
Bring some whip.
Okay, all right, maybe I'm wrong. Okay, so I was saying rich people have better sidewalks.
Yeah. I wanted to ask something.
No, anyway, okay. Maybe that was a bad. Maybe that was a bad example. Maybe that was a bad example.
I think I've got some whiplash actually.
Maybe that was a bad example.
You are up there with asking people to eat cake, by the way. What? I've touched bread, so you eat cake. I'm actually like my temperature.
The sidewalk triggered you.
With the one with population density. Okay, yes. As
What
you
was
were
my
saying.
next question? It was something around, see the way we are demanding for better as a country? There's a time, correct me if I'm wrong, there's a time where employees used to demand better. They used to-
Employees?
yes, in companies. Employees used to go on strike.
Yeah.
Back in the day, what happened? I'm not calling for it. I'm just asking, what changed? Did the employers do better?
Give me an example. I'm thinking
give
teachers
me-
still go on strike.
Leave
Doctors
alone
go on
anything
strike.
affiliated to government, like
Okay.
companies,
Oh.
things like that. Back in the day.
Yeah.
Which company ever went on strike? Like private company? I'm trying to think.
So these were
I
unions.
know
Were these
of
unions
Coca-Cola.
of like? Oh yeah.
Yes, Coca-Cola. Yeah,
Employees once went on
yeah,
strike?
they've gone on strike. Like
Interesting.
down their tools and not producing. They're not reporting to work because they want better.
Right.
And we have
I'm
no
not-
sodas in the
Right.
market.
I'm not saying that's not true. Like I feel like
I'm saying that because
yeah.
I used to work at Coca-Cola.
Right.
And a strike ever happened.
Right.
Like it's franchise, but of course it's handled by Subco. So there were things Subco should South African Bottlers Company. So Subco should intervene as much as this is a franchise. Nairobi Bottlers is different from Equator Bottlers in Kisumu. There's a head somewhere. So they needed them to intervene.
I see.
Working conditions, working hours,
Right.
like protection. You're running a machine, insurance wasn't there at that time and stuff like that.
Definitely, and the government has put a lot of regulation around how employees need to be treated in our country.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
Definitely, those are one of the Chad's greatest hits on our company, on our government. But definitely, the working conditions has definitely
Improved over
improved.
time.
But I think we're getting to a point where we are also thinking. I think this is being pushed now to the government, but also the way we think about work has changed. Work is no longer maybe now this is me being privileged in working in a company that also is very
tell
decentralized.
The guy digging the ditch outside.
It's also very decentralized. Like there's more input from different levels of the organizations, so
Yeah.
you're able to change the culture of a company because it used to be leadership is the one controlling every aspect of the company. So
Right.
yeah, that has changed. Certainly in the company that I've worked recently.
Yeah. And it's more engaging, more people are being heard.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's no longer HR, CEO, HR,
Yeah.
the rest of you
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
sort yourself out.
But yeah,
Interesting.
that's what I think.
Okay. I noticed something when you were wait. When we were recording a podcast about the onset of the demos, in
Yes.
our mind we had no idea that they would continue. So we even made a comment and
Yeah,
you
we
said,
gave the date,
you
yeah.
gave the date. And when it was posted, that's when it was so hot.
Oh, yeah,
So it felt so current. Like
Yeah.
The pressure was worse.
does the pressure increase or decrease? Increases.
Yeah, but I mean, people think it's. I don't think we are even halfway done. I don't think
I
we
know.
are even.
Yeah.
It feels like we're
People
just
are like,
the beginning.
at your summer,
We're just at the beginning of
fallen
something.
off.
I love
The
your
fire is still
punchline.
burning.
Not everyone gets to the final race. I
Yeah.
might drop off as well. It's allowed, yeah?
Hey,
Yeah.
you're on
You
your
gonna
own.
get paid off? Yeah.
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 How much money? Like let's tell them how much money would they give you for you to be like? What's your price?
It's a bad idea to answer that now because I have a current need now.
Yes.
The amount I
You
got
might
would
be
go to the
short-sighted
lowest bidder.
This
Tell them,
weekend,
tell them.
15,000.
Yeah, they said the first person to mention a number in a negotiation is the one who loses. So smart.
Oh yeah. Is that the? Oh okay. I hadn't heard that.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, and Harambes have been suspended indefinitely.
What does that mean?
it means Murkomen can no longer go to church with 20 million and donate it to that church. Murkomen, I hope you're listening to this. Oscar Sudi can no longer go to church.
Explain to me what.
Well, it feels okay. So, Wash is in charge. Let me say it plain. They're trying to clean money through the churches.
Okay.
Churches don't pay taxes.
Right.
So they just come and say, this is our donation to the church.
I see. Okay.
But that's what I don't get, because you clean money so that you can claim the money. So if you give it to a church, it's gonna come back somehow. How does Murkomen expect this money? Is it in like his reputation? He builds his name. How does this money he gives to a church come back?
He's just held the religious leaders by their
balls.
Yes.
Yeah.
He has manipulated and is controlled the religious leaders. They just, like, unprovoked, sit down and condemn the violence and condemn the demonstrations, and they unite countrywide. And our folks who have not seen the light at the end of the tunnel yet really believe in these religious leaders. And whatever these religious leaders say, our parents with their Nokia 2010 will go to the ballot in 2027 and still vote.
I see.
It's just all politics.
Okay.
There's a specific psyche into how our parents treat leadership that, like, young people aren't tapping into now.
No. Yeah.
We can't understand each other. So when you see one parent saying that if their children say they are going to the protest and they are the ones who are going to take the kids there because they understand. But did you see, like, the Nairobi business community when they brought in goons?
Yes.
When they brought in goons they brought in goods to destroy people's businesses so that Nairobi business community can actually antagonize the protest.
Yeah.
But like the Nairobi business community was like on you. They were like, no.
Our kids cannot do this to us.
Our kids are not doing this to us.
Yeah.
Because we saw when these businesses were being looted, police were standing there. But when the kids were protesting,
tear gas,
the police
bullets
were all over the place.
Yeah.
So it was very clear.
Yeah.
So some people are starting to see, like some people of that generation are starting to see through the smoke and mirrors, but there's a psyche that is so ingrained in how our parents treat
authority figures.
Yeah. Hey, this thing ordained by God.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, the word ordained by God is the word I know.
And the plan is to hide their arthritis medicine in 2027 so that they're not able to walk, to go and vote, to hide their ID. Yeah, that's the plan Gen Z have for their parents. So, yeah.
That's great.
I love it.
It's
But
that's good because, I mean, isn't that, do you think that's like partly like the information revolution is such like we can all educate ourselves now, where in our parents' time it was more like you sort of had to outsource, like, okay, well, how
you had to hear from someone,
like
someone,
a thought leader on that.
Yeah.
Because couldn't research it yourself like you can today.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. I don't know.
I think we're getting, like, we've been talking about this thing. A majority of the African youth, like in African populations, like the majority are the youth, and it's growing. Like in 2050, it's going to be massive. I think it's going to be 75%. And now we are seeing the result. That number I've just pulled from my ass.
No, but I know Uganda is the youngest country in the world. The average age in Uganda is like 15.8 years. It's like below 16 years old.
Yeah. So
the age of the average,
you know what this means? In the last election, the voting was split into thirds. So a third, but with a small majority, went to Ruto. A third went to, I don't even know, Raila. I don't even know their parties.
Oh, I thought you were going to say I don't even know his name.
Oh, no. I was looking for their names. I said Ruto instead of, is it Kenya Kwanza and then...
ODM.
ODM. No,
it wasn't ODM.
It
What
was
the parent party? Okay, let me go back.
Some national...
Oh, Azimio.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
we even
so-
forgot.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then a
It disappeared as fast as
Yeah,
it came on, right?
yeah.
And then
Listening.
a third did not vote.
Okay.
Now this a third where we are. Now you will see it in 2027. That's
Right.
the game we are playing now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
That this a third
Yeah.
is now going to be the deciding factor.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, there's also allegedly the president is going to reshuffle the cabinet. What Kenyans
Dissolve,
are
not
asking,
reshuffle.
yes, what Kenyans are asking is dissolve the cabinet.
Okay.
You can't move one incompetent person from one ministry and
Right.
move them to another and expect them to work.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
You're
Okay.
just wearing
Yeah.
clean clothes on a dirty body.
I mean, what's
Shower.
what's interesting is
Shower,
like,
fucking shower.
Remove the
yeah, because what the Constitution right now is from 2007. Yeah, is that right?
Yes.
No. 2010?
10.
Yeah, 2010.
No, 2007 was the election.
Election. Yeah.
Right.
So
2010.
2010 is the.
But you think about it, like in 2010, like hardly anybody had a smartphone, and was on the internet. Like 2010 was
Yeah,
a
like-
long time ago. Like imagine, like if that had happened even 14 years later, imagine the additional input that they would have had in the process from.
Oh, we should call for a
from
new constitution
these-
right now.
well, I mean, listen. I mean, okay, we're gonna get abducted for sure, right? But I mean, this is fresh enough that it's like, listen, if that would have happened 14
Oh my
years
God.
later,
Yeah.
like it would have had all sorts of input from this part of the population that
Public, yeah.
you didn't have in 2010 because I had what did you say, a Nokia 2210?
Nokia 2210.
Yeah.
Oh, I
And,
remember Yashpal
you
Guy
know-
at Bomas of Kenya,
Yeah.
and they were fought.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
A good one.
hey,
Right.
it was not smooth sailing
Yeah.
as well. Like it still came with a fight.
Let me ask
Yeah.
this question. The
constitution.
process of borrowing a loan, does it need public participation?
Well, I mean, it depends on what. I
At
mean,
some level.
these are things that I guess the Constitution would define. I haven't read. It might say, because it's some things that the Constitution says, but the government just doesn't comply with its own rules, right? So I don't know. But yeah, I mean, normally you would. It's like, all the major operations of government should have, public
Yeah,
participation.
Yeah.
Well, they're getting it now. 1 million citizen journalists. What did you say? 10 million people were on that Spaces?
Yeah.
I thought it was 160,000.
Amazing.
Nah. And it was so hard to
Do
join.
we have to fact check?
We will fact check.
I've seen different numbers. I've
It was
seen
a number.
1.1
I saw
million.
3.3 million as
Both
well.
numbers
10
are big
million.
numbers.
But it was
yeah?
not. It was more than a million,
Yeah.
for sure.
But it's amazing, like, I was saying, like,
Oh, and there's a lady called Joy Muraya who was given a chance to speak. She's a
Who's she?
slay queen.
Ah.
And then she took
right.
that opportunity to just, oh, Mr. President, thank you for giving me this opportunity to air my views. I don't even know what to say. My God, she has been bashed. I think she's just gonna close her Twitter account. What do you mean? It's not time for. We are in serious talk here.
and she was what? She was busy being flattered that she'd been invited? Is that what it was?
Yeah,
I
she
see.
was
see.
so happy
Interesting.
to speak to the president directly
Yeah.
and said nothing.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, but I was going to say,
4
like,
minutes of nothing.
just how engaged Kenyans are right now. Like, I know so many people who've actually, like, read the finance bill. Where, like, in America, I don't know anybody who's ever read a finance bill.
Oh, yeah?
Ever. Yeah. And certainly, like, the Gen Zs are not reading finance bills. So it's really interesting what's happening.
That's about
It's
to
really
change.
interesting.
Yeah.
Worldwide, like
I think so, too.
Nigeria has served a 1 month notice to their government.
Right.
I think
mean, it's just-
it's
there's-
been called the sub-Saharan summer.
Yeah. You
Not
can't
the
get away
Arab
with the
Spring.
lack of transparency now.
Yeah,
It's just, yeah.
we're getting good attention. Young people are starting to.
Yeah.
And when Nigerians were saying, Omo, you guys have been bought by 2 million, our Yahoo boys will be bought by 50,000. Oh, it just takes a little money.
I think I left X yesterday after people all changed their avatars to Jacob Juma avatars
Yeah.
and.
I slept at midnight just joining a space. And
I
the
was-
space is full of
yeah.
Jacob Juma avatar. I'm like, okay,
Wait, who's
who is
Jacob- who-
speaking
who's-
at this point?
Who's Jacob Juma?
Jacob
Jacob
Juma
Juma
is a badass who once slapped William Ruto. That's where
I see.
okay. Sorry, I'm sure he's done much more. He's
Yeah.
a businessman. He's politically connected.
Yeah.
They had their beef, but Kenyans chose the man who actually had this massive beef. He was murdered.
Murdered, yeah.
Allegedly.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He was
Okay.
murdered allegedly by a well-known politician.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is me protecting myself from an
And
abduction.
we've already spoiled it at the beginning, so it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
everybody was changing their avatar to. So the problem
Okay.
with this guy is his tweets from 2015. He was murdered a
coming-
long time ago.
Yeah, his tweets
it's like
from
he's
2015
live
are
tweeting
coming
right now.
real. Like if David Lee is on an interview on Citizen, he has a tweet to
relevant
match
tweet
what's happening at that time.
Yeah.
Okay.
People are asking
crazy.
was he buried with a phone?
So he was buried with a torch. This is real. Jacob Juma was buried with a torch.
Okay.
This is real.
Okay.
So people somehow think, did the torch somehow turn into a phone?
Why
But
was he buried with a
It's
torch?
a Luya thing. It's a Luya culture thing.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's real. This you can check up.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So every time something's happening, even the Gen Z demonstrations, he had written about it
Yeah.
Okay.
then, and it's accurate.
2015.
Okay.
The chat doesn't believe us.
No, I'm just I need to learn more offline about. You guys seem to know a ton about this. I know nothing. I need to brush up.
You need to get an.
Yeah, this
Please
sounds like a
get
rich.
Chad
Yes.
a Twitter account.
No, I can't do that.
You
'Cause
can't?
No, I just want to
That
know.
doesn't mean
I just
anything
want to know
to
about
him.
Jacob Juma.
Oh, okay. Or we'll be
Yeah.
sending you screenshots
Sure.
every time something happens.
I'll look up
Yeah.
on Wikipedia is what I'll do.
He's just been tormenting us ever
Right.
since. Like,
He has actually been tormenting us.
so people change their avatars to his picture so that they join Ruto's space to torment Ruto.
I see. Okay.
So
It's
if
like a
you're-
slap in his face.
So
I
if you have
swear to God.
so what's happening if you have a blue badge, you cannot change your avatar for 72 hours.
Yes.
So now
they
people
can't
want to
change
get
it
back
back.
to their own avatars and they cannot. So they're stuck with Jacob Juma's face. And the ladies were doing this. They were putting a wig over his.
I think that's when I was like, no, Kenyans, we have become too unserious
Kenyans are
in a
amazing.
fantastic way. Like, I was like, okay, I can't.
Kenyans are
I
absolutely
can't
amazing.
anymore, so
yeah?
I haven't.
Is there any other are other countries in Africa engaged like this, or you
I
guys
doubt.
are Kenyans
This
the
is
winners
just
on
on
Twitter
another
and
level.
stuff, right?
No. And
Kenyans are
Kenyans
there.
on Twitter have always been a powerful force. We once took beef with CNN. Like, CNN knows how to treat us now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
CNN
And
treats
they-
us with a lot of respect. We once
Yeah. And there's one time
tormented
Kenyans,
them is the word.
IMF had a live video and Kenyans joined in numbers. Oh my, they had to shut down the
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about now the fun parts of these demos.
Okay.
Did you see the video of this guy who was smoking the tear gas?
No.
What?
Am I the only one in Kenya that didn't see it?
What? I have even posted it on my status severally.
Oh, really?
It's
Well,
even
maybe
on a t-shirt.
Maybe I did. Maybe I did see it
Oh
on
my
your status. Yeah.
God. Okay, the tear gas was thrown at him. It didn't explode. All right, so he went with it home. So the next day, the 25th, he came back smoking the tear gas.
Canister. Like
It's
as a
all over. It's on CNN. It's on. It's all over. It
Okay,
was
I'll
discussed
check it
by
out.
some. Yeah, and then there's a soundtrack by Malema. Nobody's gonna tell me nothing. I'm in charge. So please put that proposal on the table. So this is the voice behind him smoking.
I
It's
see.
Gangster.
Oh, that's great.
And
Wow.
he's wearing a onesie. Like this guy is gangster. My God.
Can we get him on the podcast?
Wait.
Yeah.
He will throw tear gas at us. That's
Let's interview him on the podcast.
Oh my God.
It's been finding like Kenyans are always gonna be joyful even in the middle of a protest.
Totally.
Yes. And Americans on that, when CNN posted it, Americans were like, oh, he's wasting his lungs. They were all like Karens. Like, it's demonstration. We do what the
That's
fuck we
funny.
want. Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
And
doesn't he know that's vaping's bad?
That's the wrong time to becoming health conscious.
I
Right,
know.
right,
I
right,
know.
yeah.
Oh dear.
That's funny.
It's just had its beautiful moments. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when the guy who stole the
unbelievable, this
mess
energy.
was taken to court,
It's been found.
It was
The
like,
mess was recovered.
it was like, what's a mess? What are you guys talking about? And he was left free to go at 20,000 bond, I think.
Have they found the mess?
Where?
Is
Where?
it?
What is it?
Wait,
He doesn't
what?
know. The guy who stole the mess.
Stole the what?
Mess.
MACE.
MACE.
Oh, mace from the
Parliament.
parliament.
Mess from the
symbol.
parliament.
Okay,
Yeah,
got it,
he was arraigned in court.
Oh, right.
It's
Gotcha.
like, what's a mess? Mess? He kept repeating mess? No, a mess.
He's just like me. He's even there, but
yeah.
I don't know what we're
He's
just
like,
saying.
So what are you gonna do to that guy?
How do they?
Like he doesn't even know.
He doesn't know what you guys are talking about.
Did they get like his face from
Yeah,
CCTV
his face was all over CCTV. When he carried it, it's like, well, it's like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. It was so funny. That court session was funny as hell. Like,
What was the protest when it was like somebody was like stealing a street sign? Do you remember that meme?
yeah.
What was that one?
Was it
Daisy,
Cardinal
you know that one?
Otunga or what?
Yeah.
Someone carrying a. Oh, I know. It's a street sign of Kimathi Street, and then the joke is, kuja tu mbele na Kimathi Street. So he's carried Kimathi Street. You see the way people give directions. Kuja tu hapo mbele na Kimathi Street.
So like
Then
he's
he
carrying
carried
the
a-
sign.
Yeah,
so
see,
like
told me
Kimathi
to
Street
come-
moves.
yeah.
What was the situation? Because that was like in the middle of some other protest. What
Yeah,
was
that was a total. I think it was a
Wait, was
Sufuria.
What was our last Mandamana before?
Sufuria, the one Raila Odinga organized for.
Yeah.
It was
that's
still
right.
tax,
That's
yes,
right. That's
but
right. Still
yeah,
tax.
people were not-
And was
people
that
were
like
not
a
giving
year
him
ago?
attention.
When was that one?
It was a year ago.
It was actually during the finance bill as well.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah, 2023.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This one
Yeah,
it was
I remember
Raila
that.
to-
yeah.
These ones are.
Raila
these ones are the
ran
big
so that we
leagues.
could walk.
Yeah. That's right.
And his most his people, like the people who always demonstrate for Raila, they came online and said, my God, they thought they were the masters of demonstration. They have never seen anyone breach parliament since they were born.
I mean, yeah.
They were
I
like,
remember at the time
"What?"
that Mandamano seemed
Yeah.
big, but
And
there's
they
nothing.
discredited Gen Zs and they were like, Mandamano needs tear gas. These ones are too young. They cannot manage. The same guy came on Obina's show and was like,
The kids who are asking for flavors.
the kids who are asking for flavors got into parliament without being elected.
I think it's Kimani who said that these kids, they come in
Ubers and phones and
with
KFC.
their iPhone and then they leave and
KFC.
get into a KFC. The music that has been spun, like I think there are 3 songs right now out there talking about that. Like people have owned it.
And people
great.
have petitioned KFC to have a Gen Z.
Yeah.
When you order, the way you order for 4 pizza, you can order
the
for Gen Z.
The Gen Z
Yeah,
pizza.
and
Yeah, for
Uber
it.
to also have a Gen Z offer.